This is Stephen Rhodes at Breakfast.
Well, the facts are that the people in Letchworth have voted overwhelmingly, those who voted, that is, to abolish the town council. At the same time, they voted to make the Heritage Foundation democratic. At the moment, there are 30 members of the foundation. Only 6 of them are democratically elected. Now, we spoke to Nigel Jury from the campaign group Help Eliminate Letchworth Parish Council just under an hour ago. I'm a tad perplexed, Nigel, that you'd be quite happy to see the end of the parish council or the town council, but you wouldn't like to necessarily see the foundation be democratically elected.
Well, because I think it would emasculate it. The Heritage at the moment, for all its faults, put £3 million back into the town last year. At least they're putting money into the town. The council that we wish to ban can only be seen to be taking it from the town.
Now, Phillip Ross is the mayor of Letchworth and is with me here in the studio. Are you going to give the people of Letchworth what they voted for and go?
Good morning, Stephen. Well, it's been a very interesting time in Letchworth, actually. I think
there's a politician's answer to a question.
Thank you. When I'm trying
did you hear the question?
I did. Well, what you have to, the two questions need to be considered together. Yeah. And what people in Letchworth are saying is that we set up a town council originally all those years ago, 3 years ago, and before when they campaigned for it, because we didn't have a democratic or accountable heritage foundation. And since then, the town council have had to pick up and carry on the services, some of the things which the foundation should have been doing. What people are effectively saying is, to the town council, this message I'm getting, we like what you do, we're not sure we actually want to pay for all of this, but why should we? We've already got the Heritage Foundation in the town with all their money. What people actually want to see is a merger of the town council's accountability, democracy and advocacy that we've actually done with the wealth and the means of the Heritage Foundation. And I think that is what people are saying. Do we need the foundation? Do we need the town council together? We actually want the next step is actually to a merger of the democracy and accountability that we have as a town council with the wealth and means of the Heritage Foundation. That's how I'm interpreting the results. It's all about
interpretation at the moment. That's what it seems to be all about. They voted for you to go.
Well, we've got 15% have turned out.
15.6% turnout.
Thank you. I think your calculator's better than mine.
All right. Well, I got it written down here. But they have voted overwhelmingly for you to go. 2,994 votes to go, 928 to stay.
Well, it's interesting. I would have been worried if more people had actually voted for us to go than actually had voted for us in last time. We actually had a considerable majority. I think nearly 4,000 people voted for us at the last election. We've had considerably less than that this time. Also, when the petition to set up the town council was originally raised, I think it was about 5,000 signatures on it. So I'm not going to lose sleep over that, but I am going to listen to actually the message that people are giving us. And I think it's about bringing to fruition Ebenezer Howard's dream for the town. Ebenezer Howard was the founder of the town, and his dream was that a town owned and accountable to its citizens and all, and not run by and for an old boys network. And that's what we're picking up. People like what the town council do. They're not sure they want to pay for it, and they're saying,
but hang on a moment. Maybe it's time for the town council to go, and then for you to work on the idea maybe of the foundation becoming more democratic?
I think you need to work on. I think the two need to be looked at together.
But they've sort of said, right, let's lose the town council and let's make the foundation more democratic. That's what they've said in their voting.
This is what 15. We've actually had a small percentage turnout to actually say this. I'm not going to lose sleep over this.
But do you agree? Do you agree with what the voters are going for? Let's lose the town council. We don't need the two tiers, and let's keep the foundation, but let's make them more democratic, so that they should be democratically elected.
Well, I'm picking up the fact that people actually believe there's a deficit of democracy with the foundation in the town. That's certainly the message that we're picking up. As for the town council, Stephen, we just put up the council tax in Letchworth by 200%, yeah? And I thought people were going to get 50% turnout and be completely hammered. Instead, we've got 15% turnout.
Why do you think people have voted against you?
People have voted against it because it's a vote on the council tax, actually, because of the services that we're having to provide.
Hang on a moment. You're talking a lot. You're interpreting the figures in a sense that's... They voted overwhelmingly to lose you, but you've interpreted them that they want you. I don't get that.
What I'm interpreting, the fact is that actually the turnout does not indicate, isn't strong enough for us actually to see for the town council to say and go. We're not going to do that. Actually, we've got a programme which we set aside to do it. There's elections next May. That's when we're properly judged. These are opinion polls, actually, and we're picking up.
Yes, but you're quite happy. You're quite happy to interpret these in such a way that suggests that the Heritage Foundation should be democratically elected. elected. So you're happy with one part of the interpretation of the results, but you're not happy with the other. You're saying, well, it's only 15.6%. So either it all matters or none of it matters.
Well, I think actually it is an opinion poll, and on all opinion polls matter, and we actually listen to what people say. I didn't put up the council tax in Letchworth to be popular, yeah? We put up the council tax to actually do some good in the town, actually to run the programme for the things that people have asked us to take over the allotments, asked us to supply extra police officers, asked us to run events, asked us to save the dial-a-ride service, asked us to actually do plastic collections, actually to provide services and do the advocacy stuff, supporting traders, supporting the groups on our different estates and carrying on doing that. So I thought the results were actually going to be different. We've had a fairly low turnout, yeah? I accept that people aren't happy that we've actually put some of the council tax up, but what I'm saying to people is, don't judge us just because we've put it up. Judge us at the end of this year, next May, yeah, when we've actually provided the services that we've done. We've put our head on the block to do that, and that's when we actually put it down to be judged. And
but Nigel Jury's argument that the foundation puts £3 million back into the...
I think I find Nigel Jury's got his figures wrong. Last year they put 300,000 back into the community, so he needs to use your calculator. But you'll find that £100,000 of that money over the last 2 years, I think 150,000 last year went to the private golf club and the private tennis club. Now, it's interesting because if you had a democratically elected foundation, and the governors and people actually had to account back to the electorate, would they have spent all this money, half a year's takings, on private clubs in the town? I don't think they actually would. I think they would actually had to have spent it more going around the town. They'd have been accountable, and that's what it's all about accountability. And that's
as a matter of interest, do we know whether or not any of the Letchworth Heritage Foundation members are members of those private clubs?
I understand that some governors are members of the clubs. If you ever got Mr. Kenny on the show, it might be an interesting question to ask him.
Unfortunately, Mr. Kenny has declined on numerous occasions to join us on either this programme or the former programme I presented.
Well, it's a shame. I'll tell you, we have difficulty talking to him, actually. When we actually want to talk about matters pertaining to Letchworth, all they seem to do is they run off to the courts. One of the problems we had with this...
He did go to the court to try and stop the question being asked about the Heritage Foundation, and then issued the following statement: I am surprised and disappointed by the decision of Mr. Justice Owen. It appears that the decision was made by the judge following the submission to the court of new arrangements by the returning officer's legal team, which surprisingly were not provided to the Foundation's lawyers before the court made its decision, etc. Do you think if Mr. Stuart Kenny were democratically elected, he would be more likely to, for example, come on this programme?
Well, the big difference actually between Mr. Kenny and myself is Mr. Kenny is a paid official of the foundation. As mayor, I don't receive anything. I think if you read further on his statement, you'll find one of the things he's worried about is that there could be a town poll to find out how much he earns and if whether or not his salary is excessive.
His statement is very long and involved, and unfortunately we don't have time to answer.
But if they are democratic, of course you have to come in and account. We've had a poll in Letchworth from the mayor of the town, and I have to come and speak. Yeah, I haven't got a really alternative. You cannot run away because I've made a promise to represent the people of Letchworth, good or bad. All he does is collect his paycheck. Doesn't have to fulfil that promise, but I've had to do it, whether it's good or bad. You can't duck out of it. So if he was democratically elected, you had a democratically elected foundation, they would be held to account, and that's what democracy is all about, and that's what people want. That is the dream of Ebenezer Howard for our town, a town owned by and accountable to its citizens. And the town council has actually been working to actually try and bring that into fruition, and now the next step is actually to look at the assets of the town and say that they truly are there for one and all of the town, not just the old boys network.
Phillip Ross, Mayor of Letchworth, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.